Hi, this is another class by me, Yoga by Flora. We'll be doing an all levels vinyasa session. So if you have blocks and you know you need them, just have them handy. If you don't have yoga blocks, you can use books or a lunchbox or something just to give you a little bit of height. But if you know you don't need them, then you don't need them. Okay, we'll start. We'll start down on our backs today. Just lengthen out through the legs. Take one hand to the lower belly and one hand to the chest. And take a moment to connect with your breath. Smooth, steady breaths in and out through the nose. Feel the rise and fall of your hands as you inflate through the belly, up to the chest and all the way up to the collarbone. If Ujjayi breathing is in your practice, you can begin to practice your Ujjayi pranayama. And then just flutter open the eyes. Bend into your right knee and clasp your hands at your shin. And just slowly begin to draw the knee up towards the right shoulder. We're taking it outside the rib cage, so we're not compressing the rib cage. Keep all 10 toes pointing upwards, so we're flexing through both feet. And we're using the strength of the arms just to bring you deeper into this hip compression. So take a few breaths here. And squeeze in a little tighter. And release. Now take the leg up straight. And you can hold behind the thigh, behind the calf. Maybe you can reach up to the ankle, or if peace fingers around big toe is something that's accessible for you, you can do that now. Whichever variation you're in, just try and really open up to the back of the knee, the hamstring, the calf. And it doesn't matter if your knee is a little bit bent. Trying to draw the toes in towards the face. And then slowly begin to bring a deep bend into the knee and come into half happy baby. So we're trying to draw the knee down in towards the armpit. Try and have the sole of the foot shining up towards the ceiling. And then release the hold. Bring the leg to 90 degrees. Take the right arm out to the side and then just use your left hand to gently guide your right knee over to the left and look over to the right. Coming in for our supine twist. Breathing into the belly. And coming up. And straighten out through the right leg, and we'll move on to the other side. So bend the left leg, cup the shin with the hands, and then just draw the left knee up towards the left shoulder, keeping both feet flexed. So keeping some integrity in that right foot as well. Squeeze in tightly. Good, and then release. Straighten the leg any amount, and then take your hands and either just grab the outside of the thigh, sorry, the back of the thigh, the calf, the ankle, or again, if peace fingers around big toe is something that is accessible for you, you can do that. Really take the breath to the intensity. So imagine you're taking the breath to the back of this leg. Couple more breaths. And then begin to bend into the knee. And if you haven't got peace fingers around big toe, you can always grab the outside of the foot just to help you draw the knee down towards the ground. And release. Keep a 90-degree bend in the knee. Take the left hand out to the side and use your right hand on top of the left knee to gently guide it over to the right and look over to the left. And release. Bend both knees and just place the hands behind the backs of the legs. And you can either roll onto one side and push yourself up, or you can rock backwards and forwards along the spine a few times to come up to a seat. Once you're there, just flip the legs back behind you and come into your tabletop position. So get all the joints nicely stacked. Spread out the fingers. And then lengthen out through the right leg. Flex the foot so that all 5 toes are pointing downwards, and this way you know that your hips are square so we're not lifting up in the right hip. Feel the abdominal muscles engage, and then you can either stay here or you can bring the left arm and lengthen it out in front of you for a spinal balance. Soft gaze down at the mat, really feel the belt of your abdominal muscles engage. Keep a nice flat back. And then as you exhale, round the spine, bring knee towards elbow. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, knee to elbow. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, knee to elbow. Inhale, lengthen. Keep the leg lifted, drop the hands down, and then take this right leg all the way over to the left, tuck under the toes, and gaze back at that right foot over your left shoulder. And as you do that, bump your hips over to the right so you feel this deep stretch in the right side body. Good. Float the leg up, take it back through center, and then we'll come into a front body stretch. So coming into a modified wild thing. So again, take the right foot over to the left, and then reach up with the right hand and lean back. Breathe into the front body. And then come back round, come back to tabletop. And we'll take the same on the other side. So lengthen out through the left leg, point the toes downwards, flex through the back foot as if you're pushing the wall back behind you. And you can stay here with just the leg lifted, or you can bring the right arm and take it out in front of you. Engage in the abdomen. And then as you exhale, round the spine, knee towards elbow. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, round. Inhale, lengthen. Keep the leg lifted, but drop the hand back down and take the left leg over to the right. Tuck under the toes. Gaze at that left foot over your right shoulder and bump your hips over to the left. And release, float the leg up, bring it back through center. And then we'll take the left leg over to the right again and come into our modified wild thing. So we're shining the chest and the front body up towards the ceiling, taking that left arm up and over, leaning back. And then come back to our tabletop. Tuck under all 10 toes. And just begin to hover the knees up above the ground. So the knees are hovering about an inch off the ground. You're really grounding in through the hands, pushing through the shoulders. And then from here, straighten out the legs, down facing dog. Take a few nice deep breaths in your first down dog. You can pedal out through the feet. Make any movements that you want to. Make sure the head's nice and heavy. And then come forward to a plank. Good. Once you're in plank, you can take your knees down if it feels like too much. Otherwise, knees are lifted. And in our plank, we don't want to sag in the hips. And we don't want to be too lifted in the hips either. So try and find that midpoint where you can really feel your core working. And then from here, whether you have your knees down or lifted, just bring the left knee in towards the chest. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then take it back out. Other side, bend right knee into the chest. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Take it back. Downward facing dog. A few breaths here. And then we'll take the feet to mat width and walk the hands back towards the back of the mat and come into a wide-legged forward fold. You can bend into the knees if you want to. You can bring a little bounce into it. That can sometimes feel nice. Just bounce. And then release the arms. Come up to a halfway lift. If you need your blocks here, you can have a block just to bring the ground up to you. Left fingertips come to center. Sweep the right arm up. And then once you're halfway there, you can begin to bend into the left knee. Keep the right leg straight. Find this deep stretch in the IT band. If you want a bit more of a shoulder stretch, you can come in for a bind. So just flipping the hand behind you and wrapping it behind your back. Maybe you can come and grab the inside of the left thigh. Really spin that shoulder open. And unwind. Take a little forward fold again, maybe bounce. And then come up, halfway lift. Right fingertips come towards center. Left arm begins to sweep up. When you're halfway up, begin to bend into the right knee. Keep the left leg straight and spin up. Feel this deep stretch coming down the outside of that left leg. And then if you want to continue, you can flip the hand, push the air out behind you, and then come in for a bind. Maybe you grab the inside of the right thigh and really try to kind of open your chest up towards the ceiling. And unwind. Take a couple more bounces here just to neutralize the spine. And then begin to walk the hands forward. Downward facing dog. Let's come into our standing sequence. So inhale, right leg lifts. Bend the knee, open the hip. Find this hip opening to keep the shoulders square, and then take a few ankle circles, a few times in one direction, and change direction. And then bring the leg long, square off the hip, and step the foot in between the hands. Get nice and low. Coming up for our crescent lunge. So get strong in the legs. If this feels too much, you can always take the back knee down. Get strong in the legs, and then initially just pick the fingertips up off the ground first. Feel the leg muscles engage as you do that, and then slowly, as if you're moving through honey, move up. Bringing shoulders above hips, crescent lunge. You don't have to have this back leg straight. You can bend it. If you're feeling like you have too much of a crease in the lower back with it straight, we don't want to really dump any weight in that lower back. A few breaths here. And then we'll begin to spin the back heel down, coming into warrior two. So just check your feet, always start at your foundations. Back foot parallel to the back of the mat, front foot facing forward, and a heel to arch alignment. Get nice and deep in this front knee and avoid letting it collapse inwards. We're trying to keep it open. Arms out long, parallel with the ground, soft gaze over the front middle finger. And we'll flow a little bit here. So as you inhale, straighten that front leg, arms come up, look up. Exhale, warrior two. And again, inhale. Exhale, warrior two. Last one, inhale. Exhale, warrior two. Flip over that front hand. Inhale to reverse without straightening out through that front knee. And then exhale to our extended side angle. So you can take your elbow on top of your knee, bring the arm up and then over. Try not to collapse into this shoulder if you're taking this variation. If you feel like you can come down, you can use a block to the inside of the foot and come down this way, because we want to keep the openness in the hip. There's no point in coming down if you're starting to face the ground. You need to stay open. If you can reach the ground and keep the shoulders stacked and the hips stacked, then you do that. And then come back through warrior two, and then straighten through this front leg. Maybe walk the back foot in a touch, coming into triangle. So we'll reverse first, flip over the front hand, inhale to reverse triangle, and then keeping this length in the right side body, come into triangle. So we're coming forward, 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 forward. When we can't come forward, we then begin to bring the hand down. You can have your hand at your shin, your ankle. You can use a block. Same principle here. There's no point in coming down to the ground if your shoulder starts to creep forward and you're facing the ground. We want to keep the shoulders stacked. Look up at the top thumb if it's not painful for your neck. Good. And then again, we'll flip that front hand, the top hand back, push the air out behind you, and then take a bind. So you can bring the hand to the lower back, or maybe you can wrap it all the way around, grab hold of the inner right thigh, and then really spin the shoulder open. If you took the bind, unwind, come up, triangle, spin the hands down to frame the front foot, low lunge, and then take a vinyasa. Coming down as you exhale, inhaling to come up, exhale, come back. These vinyasas are optional, so there's no need to take them if you don't want to. If you want to skip them, just go straight to downward facing dog and we'll meet you there. Okay, left side. Inhale, left leg lifts. Open the hip, bend the knee. And then begin to take some ankle circles a few times in one direction and a few times in the other. Keep the shoulders square. Straighten into the left leg, square off the hips, and then draw the foot in between the hands. Drop it down. Find your base, find your steadiness. There's no point in coming up if you're going to be falling and wobbling all over the place. If you feel unsteady, you can widen your feet. And then once you're ready, engage in the legs, pick up the fingertips, stay nice and low, and then slowly, slowly begin to rise. Crescent lunge. Bend into the back knee if you need to try and tuck the tailbone under. Shoulders away from ears, arms nice and strong. Settle in, sink down. And then we'll spin the arms open, back heel comes down, warrior two. So again, check your foundation first, check the feet, then check the legs. We also don't really want to be arching too much or rounding too much, a nice long spine. And then we'll flow here again. So inhale, straighten that front leg. Take the arms up, look up. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale. Exhale, warrior two. This time, inhale, flip the front hand over. Take it back to reverse warrior. Keep the deep bend in that left knee. And then come through to whichever variation of side angle you want to take. So you either have your hand on top of your knee and arm across the ear, or you're bringing in your props if you want to come down a little bit lower. Just really be aware and check in with yourself and make sure you're not going to places that are giving you not great alignment. One more breath here. And then come up and then straighten this front leg. Walk the back foot in a touch. Flip over that front hand again, coming into reverse triangle, so both legs straight. Find lots of length in that left side body, and then try and keep that length as you come forward, 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 forward. When you can't come forward anymore, you can then begin to bring the hand down. You're bringing your hand to your shin, your ankle. You can use a block to the inside or the outside of the foot. Like I said, only come down to the ground if you know that you can keep your hips and your shoulders stacked. Looking up at that top thumb. Not dumping too much weight into the left hand, so you should be able to stay where you are when you pick the left hand off. And then flip the hand, push the air out behind you, and come in for that bind. I want you to really roll that right shoulder open, as if you're trying to spin the chest up towards the ceiling. And unwind. Come up through triangle. And then windmill the hands down. Low lunge. Step that left foot back to meet the right. Inhale in plank. Exhale to lower down halfway or all the way. Inhale up double cobra. Exhale downward facing dog. Take a few breaths here. We'll take the same flow, but we will be adding on a few bits and pieces. Let's inhale, right leg lifts. Bend the knee, open the hip. And then with the knee remaining bent, we're going to exhale, bring the leg into the chest, the knee into the chest, and then take it over to the left elbow. So we're making kind of semicircles. Inhale, take it back to that hip stretch. Exhale, sweep the knee around and in and across. Inhale, last time. And exhale. Knee to elbow. Then bring knee into chest. Step it in between the hands. Fingertips come off the mat first. And then slowly come up, crescent lunge. And then as you exhale, bring the arms forward and then back, palms face down, lean forward, squeeze the triceps, and then come back up, crescent lunge. Second time, same thing with the arms, but we're going to step into chair pose. So step the left foot to meet the right, come into your chair with airplane arms. A few breaths here. Option to come up onto the toes, squeeze the triceps. Take the heels back down, arms rise. Pick up that left foot, see if you can step it back. Crescent lunge. Settle in. And then open up to our warrior two. Check your feet. Flow here again. So inhale, straighten the leg, arms up, look up. Exhale. Warrior 2. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale. Flip over that front hand. Inhale to reverse. Exhale to your extended side angle, whichever variation you want to take. And then inhale, reverse again. This time as you exhale, we're coming into half moon. So look out in front of your right foot. You can bring this back foot in slightly to help with your balance. If you have a block and you know you need it, you can use this now. You take the block to about a foot in front of that front foot and about 3 to 6 inches to the right, so the pinky toe side. You can come up, balancing on the right foot. Take your hand to the left hip, that will help you with your balance. Keep looking down, and then see if you can begin to stack that left hip on top of the right. You can stay here if this feels enough, or maybe you begin to take that left arm up. So without a block, it'll look like this. That floating leg is really strong, so the foot is flexed, stacking shoulders. And then see if you can transition from half moon into prayer squat. So bend into the standing leg, bring the hands through center, and see if you can step down, prayer squat. Get nice and low. Knees are tracking in the same line as your feet. And then come up, 5-pointed star. Come back to prayer squat. Get nice and low, sink deep, 5-pointed star. And then coming into our triangle legs. So you're just going to spin that front foot facing forward, back foot spins in, and come into your triangle. Lean forward, 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 forward. Then begin to bring the hand down. Use your props if you need them. Good, and then begin to bring this left hand down. Spin forward, so you might need to take the back foot into more of a 45-degree angle. And bend into that front knee, warrior 1. So hips are now square to the front of the mat. Arms up. Straighten the leg and bend. Straighten the leg and bend. One last time, straighten that leg, bend, and then bring the hands down to frame the foot. Optional vinyasa, stepping the right foot back to meet the left, inhaling to plank, exhale to lower, inhale, up dog or cobra, exhale, downward facing dog. My mat is very slippy today. Take a couple of breaths here, or you can hang out in child's pose. If you took child's pose, just come back up to downward facing dog, and we'll take the same flow on the other side. So inhale, left leg lifts, bend into the knee, open the hip, and then sweeping those half circles again. We're going to bring the left knee in towards the chest and then tap it to the right arm. Sweep it back up as you inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And then hug the knee in towards center and step the foot in between the hands. Pick the fingertips up off the mat And slowly rise. Crescent lunge. Settle in. And then start to lean forward, sweep the arms in front and then behind you, palms face down, squeeze the triceps. And rise back up, crescent lunge. And then this time as you bring the arms back, squeeze and step the right foot next to the left, chair pose with aeroplane arms. Sink nice and low, take the weight into the heels if you're keeping the feet down, otherwise come up onto the toes, lift the heels, squeeze the triceps, and then take the heels down, arms come up, and then gently step that right foot back, crescent lunge. And then we'll open out warrior two. Sink in, and then we'll flow. Inhale, straighten the front leg, arms up, look up. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, and exhale. Good. Flip over the front hand, inhale to reverse, and exhale, extended side angle. And then inhale to reverse, and this time exhale to our half moon. So you can walk this back foot in to help with your balance. Use a block if you need one. Take your right hand to your right hip to help with your balance, and then slowly begin to open the hip. So you're stacking the right hip on top of the left. You can keep your right hand on that hip if it helps with your balance, or you can begin to take the right arm up. Stack the shoulders so you're leaning back a little bit more than you feel like. That floating foot is flexed. And then from here, let's see about that tricky transition. See if you can bend into this standing leg. Drop that right foot back. Press squat. Good, sink deep. Sweep the arms up, 5-pointed star. And again, sink deep, press squat. And 5-pointed star. And then the right foot spins in slightly, left foot spins facing forward, coming in for your triangle. So lean forward as if you have a piece of string pulling this hand forward, 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 forward. And then come down. Looking up at that top thumb. And then slowly begin to bring that right hand down. Spin the hips towards the front of the mat. You can maybe take that back foot more to a 45-degree angle. Bend into the front knee, warrior one. Settle in, nice strong legs, hips square to the front. And then straighten that front knee and bend it. And straighten and bend. Straighten, bend, and then take the arms down. Step back to plank on the inhale. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. And exhale to child's pose. Catch your breath. Breathe into the back body. And then slowly come back to downward facing dog. And inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, bring it in between the hands. Come up, crescent lunge. Sweep the arms back, coming into our chair pose with airplane arms. And then come up, rise, mountain pose. Bring the hands to heart center. Bend the right leg in and coming into one-legged Tadasana. And then we're going to take our figure four. So bring the right ankle on top of the left knee and then sink down. As if you're coming into chair pose. Keep this right foot flexed to protect your knee joint. Look down at something on the ground to help with your balance. And then you can either stay here if this is enough, or maybe you begin to sink a little bit lower. Maybe you bring your elbows to your shin. Nice opening in the hip. And then slowly begin to rise. Pick the knee, take it into the chest, give it a little squeeze. And then hands back to heart center. Gently step back, step the right foot back. Coming into crescent lunge on the left side. Arm sweep up. Bring the hands down. Back knee comes down, top of the foot comes down. Coming into our runner's lunge. So walk this foot forward enough so that you have a deep stretch in that back quad. And then really try and pull the chest through the shoulders. And then from here coming into our half splits. So begin to take the hips back, straighten through this left leg, flex the left foot. And then you can have a block on either side of this leg if coming down to the ground feels too much. If you don't have blocks, you can take your hands to your hips and just kind of fold forward this way. Otherwise, you have your hands at either side of the leg. With every inhale, make space at the vertebrae, find length, and then as you exhale, maybe you fold forward. Coming out. And then just shimmy this left foot over to the right hand side of the mat, coming into pigeon pose. And stay upright for a couple of breaths. If you want to maybe find a little back bend, you can take your arms behind you. Maybe grab hold of your mat. Or you can take the arms up overhead. And then bring the hands down and begin to sink forward. You can come down onto your forearms, or maybe you come all the way down. Always an option to have a rolled up blanket or a block just setting underneath your left hip to try and keep your hips square if your hips don't feel square. Deep breaths. Try to just unclench, so unclench the jaw. If you're clenching any muscles around here, just try to kind of soften. And then slowly begin to come up, plant the hands, tuck under the 5 toes of your right foot. See if you can sweep this left leg all the way up to 3-legged dog. Let the back of the knee breathe. Any movements here to get the blood back into the hip that feel nice. And then coming back to our down dog, optional vinyasa. Inhale, plank. Exhale, down. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. Okay, so second side. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, sweep it in between the hands. And come up, crescent lunge. Settle in. And then bring both arms forward, sweep them back, and then step to your chair pose. Sink nice and low. Triceps are squeezing behind. And then sweep the arms up, straighten out the legs. Mountain pose. Bring hands down through heart center. Bend, ground down through the right foot, bend into the left knee. One-legged Tadasana or standing staff pose. And then set the left ankle on top of the right knee and sink down. Get nice and deep. And you can stay here. Keep this left foot flexed. Or maybe you come a little bit deeper. Maybe you can bring elbows to shin. Connect with your breath. And then slowly rise back up. Left knee comes into chest. Squeeze. Release. And step that left foot back to crescent lunge. Take a breath here. Bring the hands down to frame the foot. Knee comes down, top of the foot comes down. Low lunge. Again, walk this right foot forward if you need more of a stretch in the back quad. Pull the chest through the shoulders. Take some deep breaths. And then begin to take the hips back, straighten out through the front leg, flex that right foot, half splits. Again, you can have your blocks on either side of your leg, or you have your hands at your hips and you start to fold forward that way. Otherwise, your hands are down. Take a big inhale, find length in the spine, and then as you exhale, fold forward. And then bend back into the right knee. And then just shimmy this left foot over to the right foot over to the left side of the mat and set the knee down coming into your pigeon pose. Okay, before we start to fold forward, notice if your hips are struggling to stay square, and you can take a blanket or a block underneath the right hip. And then let's come in for a little bit of a back bend. So you can push into the fingertips and lean back. Or maybe you take the hands behind you, you can grab hold of the mat and kind of get a little bit of traction that way. Or maybe you take your arms up overhead for a full back bend. And then bring the hands down in front and slowly begin to fold forward. Coming onto the forearms. And then maybe coming all the way down onto the forehead. Try and find softness here. I know it feels really intense, but just try to find some ease. Relax the muscles of the face. And then slowly begin to rise. Plant the hands, tuck the back toes under and see if you can sweep this right leg up to a three-legged dog. And then stretch it out. And come in for your downward facing dog. And then your final optional vinyasa, if you want to take it, inhale out to plank. Exhale, come down. Inhale, come up. And exhale back to downward facing dog. Come all the way up onto the toes, bend into the knees, look to the front of the mat, and see if you can hop through to a seat. Take the legs out long, and then bend into the right knee. Bring the sole of the right foot to the inside of the left thigh. Inhale to find length in the spine, and then exhale to fold forward. You can grab hold of your leg here, or if you can reach the foot, you can use that to help draw you a little bit deeper into this. We don't want to round in the upper spine, so we don't really want this shape in the back. So if that means you stay up here and you work on coming down, then you should do that. We're thinking more belly to thigh than forehead to elbow, forehead to knee. And come up. Bend pick the right knee up and then take the right foot to the outside of the left knee. And then you can bend the right leg out in under you. But if it feels like you can't keep your sit bones grounding, then you keep it straight. Right hand comes behind you. Inhale, left arm rises, get length in the spine, and then as you exhale, twist over to the right. Hug the knee into the chest, or take the elbow to the outside of the knee, and then use that to bring you deeper into this twist. If a bind is something that you're working towards or something that's in your practice already, you can take the bind now. So you're taking your left hand through the leg, right hand comes behind, and you clasp at the hands. Keep upright in the spine. Breathe into the belly. And then wherever you are, slowly unwind. Take a counter twist over to the other side. Straighten out the legs again. Bend into the left knee. Left foot comes to the inside of the right thigh. And then as you inhale, find length, and then exhale, fold forward. If you have the flexibility, you can also use blocks to kind of create a bit more space for you to hold on to. Or if it feels too much, you can have a block underneath your knee just to give it a little bit of cushioning and come down that way. Should have said that on the first side, really. Sorry. And then slowly rise. Pick this left knee up. Left foot comes to the outside of the right knee. Keep the right leg straight, or you can bend it in underneath you. Just make sure that you have both sit bones grounding still. And then left hand comes behind. Inhale, right arm lifts, and then exhale, twist. Option to hug the knee into the chest. Take the elbow to the outside of the knee, or if you're trying for a bind, you slip your right hand underneath the leg. Left hand comes behind the back, and you take the clasp that way. Breathe, connect with your breath again. Make sure it hasn't began to kind of shorten or get rapid. Just make it very slow and smooth. And then unwind. Bring both legs out in front of you. Take the flesh out from underneath. Inhale, arms come up. And exhale, we're coming into Paschimottanasana. So again, you can have, if you have a strap, you can always use a strap, but you need to keep a nice long straight back. So you can grab hold of your legs, maybe you just use the mat to give you a little bit of traction to come down, or if you have the feet, use the feet. With every inhale, we're trying to find space. Wiggle a bit maybe. With every exhale, find depth. And then slowly come out. Come all the way down onto your back. And bring the heels close in towards your sit bones. Arms come down by the sides. We're rolling up to our bridge pose. So just pick the tailbone up off the ground first. Roll up, roll up. And then option to clasp the hands behind the back and roll onto the shoulders. Try and keep the chin away from the chest. Avoid letting the knees splay open, so we're trying to keep them above the ankles. And then release, come down. Take a few breaths. And then again, begin to roll up. Clasp the hands behind the back if you want to. Chin comes away from the chest. And then this time, if you want to play around, maybe pick up the right foot. Maybe straighten the right leg up. And then bring the right foot back down. And try the same on the other side. Left knee bends in, then see if you can straighten it out. And then bend, come down, and come out. Take your feet to mat width and let the knees just knock in towards the middle. And then begin to windshield wiper your legs from right to left. And then next time they come to the left, just drop them down. Look over to the right. Take your arms to goalpost or to T if you have the space. Breathe here. And bring them through center. Take them over to the other side. Look over to the left. Back through center. And then just cup the knees with your hands and make some small circles in one direction. Just massaging out through the lower back. And then make some circles in the other direction. And then come into Shavasana. So take the legs out long. Arms come down by the sides. And make any adjustments you need to get comfortable. And then let the breath come back to its natural rhythm. Let the feet fall open, palms face up. And find stillness. Feel all of the muscles in your body just start to melt. Be heavy. Give yourself permission to be still. Notice any sensations you might still be feeling in the body. The energy of the flow that we just practiced. And as always, if you would like to stay longer in Shavasana, you can just press pause and stay for as long as you like. Otherwise, we'll begin to move back into the fingers and toes, perhaps rotating the wrists and the ankles. And then taking the arms up overhead for a full body stretch. Point through the toes, reach through the fingertips.